Welcome back.
We finished the Camino, and in light of that, we decided to wear our pink and blue so that you would recognize us. So we had our Camino uniforms. So anyway, we just decided we'd do a quick recap on kind of our overall thoughts of the Camino and just kind of everything else on that. So
Yeah, so what were your overall thoughts about the Camino, and why did we do this Camino thing? What is it?
lots of questions. So we saw the movie The Way, of course, 13 years ago. Had a special premiere when we were dating, and interestingly enough, it hit us both the same way, and we both really wanted to do the spiritual journey. And because it takes at least a month, there's no way to do it with a job and kids and things like that. So we are truly blessed that we finally got to do it after 13 years. Overall thoughts, it was so much more challenging than I think either one of us expected. We tried to train and go for hikes and, be on our feet 8-10 hours kind of a thing, miles. And it helped, I'm sure. But it was, I think, getting up and walking the majority of every day for 38 days in a row takes kind of a toll.
Yeah.
And you have to mentally and physically just power through.
Yeah. It was a lot harder than we thought. I mean, I think the long hours, the miles, I don't think we were quite prepared for some of that.
And the terrain. So
The terrain was up and down.
they don't have
Spain
civilized
is very
trails.
hilly.
Yeah. I know if y'all followed along with us, we tried to post the different terrains, and there was definitely some sketchy downhills, lots of uphills.
Yeah. A lot of the trail is just not well maintained, right? I mean, some of the downhills are really washed out. They're just not, and some parts of the trail are great, and other parts are just really sketchy. And it's like, wow, somebody needs to come in here and fix this. But it is what it is. It's a pilgrimage. You're off in the countryside walking every day, and so there's all kinds of different trails and different paths and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the first couple of days were the hardest, the first 3 days maybe, because you start out, when you leave St. John Pied de Port, you go up a mountain, and it's a big mountain, Pyrenees.
Pretty much 7 miles or 8 miles of just up.
Straight up, yeah. And you get over the mountain, and then you got to come down. So yeah, it's tough.
Well, we looked through our post before we did this, and just to remember everything, and it was so overwhelmingly beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, our pictures, I know, didn't show it at all, and even with the tricky terrain and the rain that we had and things like that, it's such a beautiful
Country.
walk in country.
Yeah.
And you don't see it when you just go to Spain, but if going through these little bitty towns,
Yeah.
amazing. So
What about the weather?
the majority of it, we got really, really lucky.
Yeah.
We had mostly sunny days. It was cooler than we expected.
It was cooler. Yeah.
Definitely starting out, it was 40s in the morning, and then by afternoon you had t-shirt on or whatever. And then the rainy days were hard because it always came with wind.
I think toward the end we had Hurricane Kirk, which I think we posted about that, but it was brutal wind and rain, and it would come in like sheets and
Sideways.
Sideways, and it's just like that was something that was really hard to walk in. What about poles? So there's always a debate about getting hiking poles or not using hiking poles, and I think
we never used them. And
we were a little bit stubborn.
Yeah, we were like, we don't need them, and so of course on the hardest first 3 days we didn't have them.
Yeah.
And then we did cave.
Yeah, I think what about a week and a half, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And we ran into the wizard of the Camino, and we decided to get poles at that point, which I think that helped a lot.
It was a huge help. So that definitely was. Any other thoughts of overall, or
I think for me, everybody's Camino's a little bit different. The interesting thing about it is you're all doing it the same thing, but everybody kind of has their own experience, and there's a lot of different ways to do the Camino. I think it's become very crowded, so a lot of people are choosing to try to do this journey, and it makes things from a logistics standpoint, makes it a little tricky sometimes, right? So lodging, things like that. So from my experience, some of that was a little bit of a turn off. I would have much rather just focused on the pilgrimage instead of some of the other stuff that we had to contend with.
Well, it did get to the point because it was so crowded, and we didn't want to book out. We just wanted to walk and then get someplace and find a room.
Right.
And I think a couple of challenges on that. One, because we're a little bit older, we really wanted the comfort of having our own room and our own bathroom. And so that's harder to find. I think if you're going to stay in the big dorms, you probably could get lucky the majority of the time and find a place.
Yeah. I mean, there's a saying that the Camino provides, and I mean, it does, but, and you know, a lot of these pilgrims show up in a village and, you know, they don't have a place to stay, but somebody will find them a place to stay. And in our case, you know, we wanted to kind of stay in our own room and have a private bathroom and things like that. So it's just our comfort level. So that's kind of what I mean. Our Camino is different maybe than other people's Camino, right? So there's all different ways of doing it, and there's no wrong way and there's no right way. But so that made it a little tricky to book. At first, I think we started out like, let's book 1 or 2 days ahead, and then we realized we started getting into situations where, okay, we can't find anything for 50 kilometers and we can't walk that far kind of thing. So
we had really short days.
We had a couple short days and then followed by a couple long days and stuff like that. So yeah, that made it a little bit tricky. So it was at the end of I think probably halfway through, we just went ahead and booked all the way. So then we were committed every day to that distance, and we knew we had a place to stay, so it wasn't like
took some stress away of having to get up
get rid of some of the anxiety
6 o'clock
of
in
that.
the morning and then hurry the whole way through. So
a lot of people get up early and they rush to the next town or whatever, and
they
just
can
to
find a bottom bunk or
a
place to sleep. And so I think for us that was much better because it took away a lot of stress, and then we could get up leisurely. We didn't have to rush. If we wanted to have a break along the way, we could, and felt comfortable doing that because we knew we had a place to stay.
Right.
So I think that helped out a lot too.
Yeah.
And the crowds, I think it's just because the way the movie has ruined it, and then they come back out again, and so everybody wants to do it.
A lot of Americans have seen that movie, so they're definitely motivated to go see it. And I mean, it's just become very crowded. I mean, I think the day we left, there were 480 pilgrims that started that day, and then toward the end, we were seeing thousands of pilgrims coming in every day.
The last 100 kilometers was insane.
Crazy.
So it's just the whole vibe changes, which is interesting. Yeah, so
it becomes a very different atmosphere when everybody's just packed in the crowds and the restaurants and the cafes and all that stuff. So it's just a different kind of experience than maybe if it was a different time of year or something like that. So
are you glad that we did this together, or would you like to do it solo?
I'm glad we did it together. There's a lot of people, even if they do it together, they walk separately, but for the most part we walk together. There was a couple times where you were talking to somebody and you walked a little bit ahead or something like that, but I think it was great. I mean, it was a fantastic experience walking together and talking every day, and just praying together and stuff like that. So I thought that was good. How about you?
I agree.
I think you had the ladies asking you all those questions.
Every time I ran into a group of ladies, they would go, "How's it traveling with your spouse?" So I guess they don't travel well with their spouse. I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah,
we were blessed because we walk the same speed. It worked out really, really well. I mean, it was a perfect trip together, so we did enjoy that. So
overall, I think it was a very enjoyable. I mean, the elements took a toll on us. The long days took a toll on us. Our feet took a toll on us. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think our relationship's closer, better.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, and then we started shipping bags. So we want to talk about that a little bit.
So
pros.
Shipping bags.
Only pros.
Again, we were a little bit stubborn in the beginning, and we said, well, we can carry
Very
our
stubborn.
bags.
Yeah.
We can do this. You know, our bags, I think your bag was what, 12 pounds?
They were both probably 12 to 15. You add the
Yeah.
water in there, and it gets to be more. So
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, we were like,
not
okay,
crazy heavy, but
we
you
can
know.
do this. And then, you know, we realized a lot of people were passing us on the trail, and we're like, well, they don't have their bags with them. I mean, it's like, makes it a lot easier. But we decided, like anything over 20 kilometers, we would ship the bag. And so when we started, well, what we did is took all the stuff,
We
put it in
crammed
your bag,
as much into my bag to ship as possible.
and then
so.
shipped it. It was only €6.
So then we just had snacks and water and maybe a raincoat in Jeff's bag.
So we would ship it to the next place where we were staying. That worked out really well. Never had any problems. Our bag was always there. Very convenient. Yeah. So, what about the accommodations? How'd you feel about the places that we did stay? I mean,
You know, they were all different. So we did try and attempt to stay in each one. So we did have one dorm room. Of course, it ended up where we were the only ones in there, and we had a shared bathroom. So
Yeah.
we got a small taste of dorm life.
yeah.
We stayed in pensions and Airbnbs and guest houses and hostels and apartments. So
Yeah.
I think we pretty much stayed in everything. It got tricky. You sometimes just had to pick what was left. I mean,
Yeah.
there wasn't a whole bunch of availability. So, you know, you get what you get. We were blessed to have a roof over our head, and, you know, it was comfortable and clean, and a shower and to wash our clothes and things like that. And so, you know, some of the accommodations were fantastic and some not so much. For my birthday, he did splurge on a Parador, which are the really, really fancy old hotels. I guess they used to be a palace or something that the state bought and then made it into a hotel.
Right.
But that was the best room.
That was really nice. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, each one was so different. Some of them came with food, some of them didn't. Then we had the whole food thing. So
Right.
what did you think about all that?
Yeah, the food. I love Spanish food to begin with. So, but the food along the Camino is not always the best. Obviously, there's places like Pamplona. Some of the bigger cities, you have a lot more options. I mean, tapas bars. I love tapas, not topless. Tapas. I just love that style of eating. I enjoy that kind of food, and there's a lot of really wonderful options along the way for that kind of stuff. But then there's also the other side of that, which is like the pilgrim meals.
Which is basically either chicken, pork, or steak, and then you get either a salad, soup, and then French fries.
Yeah.
So it's not that it was bad. It just after a month you kind of want something a little bit different.
Right.
We did have a communal dinner that was paella, and that was
good.
fantastic. So there was some differences in there. So it wasn't all the same always, but
Right.
we did try and kind of get away from sometimes doing the pilgrim meals all the time.
Yeah.
Had salmon and some soups and different places, and not where all the pilgrims were having meals. So
Yeah, I mean, that's like some of these towns. I mean, they're just so small that, you know, you roll in and there's 5 albergues there, and really there's no restaurants because the town's just too small to really support that, other than the pilgrims. And so you might have a pilgrim meal in one place and that's all they serve. I mean, they won't even do other food during the pilgrim meal hour. So even if you don't want I mean, like we went into a couple places and we wanted just a couple snacks or something, and it's like, oh no, the kitchen's closed except for the pilgrim meal kind of thing. So I was like, okay.
so you either eat it or not.
Yeah, so it made it a little bit tricky, but yeah. So that was the food. I mean, overall, I enjoyed the food, but
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with it. And then, you know, when you're walking, there's all these other towns that have cafes that you can stop and get a drink or coffee or snacks.
yeah,
And some of those
bocadillas
were
are
really
very
good.
big.
Yeah.
Bocadilla is like the main. What do you call it? The main meal during the day. A bocadilla is just a sandwich with meat and cheese, and that's it.
It's a lot of bread.
Yeah, a lot
That
of bread.
or the tortilla, which is
Or the
basically a
tortilla,
potato
yeah.
egg omelet type
Yep.
thing. It's anyway, they were fine, but Well, so did you have like some favorite towns that you remember that you want to go back maybe and revisit, or?
I don't have any favorite towns. I liked them all to some degree. I mean, obviously the farm towns I didn't care for as much, but like
It's more the smell.
well, okay, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah. There's, I mean, Pamplona was beautiful, Burgos was beautiful, Leon was amazing. The cathedrals in all of these towns were just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
It just, so I don't have a particular favorite place. I don't know about you.
See, and I think my two favorites were Burgos and Ponferrada, and I think it's because I just love the whole medieval type feeling, and Ponferrada had the Knights Templar, and that was the huge fortress, and that just was so cool. And same with Burgos. I mean, it has all the fortress walls, and you just get that sense of what it used to be like in the very beginning of that town kind of thing. And so I think those were my favorites just because it was just so interesting to see the architecture. And
You want to go back there?
I would go back to Burgos.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a nice town.
Ponferrada may be a little trickier to get to, but I guess we could. I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, so overall, like authentic experiences, I guess, that you took away that you'll remember. And
I think we posted about that one experience that we had. It was a small town, a couple kilometers off the trail, and we were really struggling at that point. We didn't have very much cash with us. That was my fault because I didn't stop at the ATM machine when I could have.
€4.
We had €4 in our pocket, and we get to this little bitty town, and I'm like, there's not going to be anything here. We thought we were staying at like a little hotel, but it turned out to be like a guest house.
Basically, Grandma's house with some rooms upstairs you stayed in.
Yeah,
So,
so it was like, okay, there's not really, I mean, we got very lucky because there was a small bar in the town, or small restaurant, and we stumbled in there, and they took credit cards, thank God.
so you could eat.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it was nuts and water.
Yeah. But that was the night that we were invited to the local concert, and I think I posted about that. It was an amazing experience, and they invited us back for a reception afterwards, which was amazing. All the town people there talking, trying to talk to us and bringing us snacks and drinks and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. But that was one memorable experience that I'll always remember. Just
That, and then I think Grenon. It was a small little town too, and the lady that we rented her place told us about Mass, and she goes, "You should go. They do a Pilgrim's Blessing." So we ended up going, and it was this beautiful little church.
Yep.
Of course, the service was all in Spanish, and we're not Catholic, so we didn't really understand a whole bunch anyway. But the readings were in English, which was great. And then they did a blessing at the very end, and it was very meaningful. I mean,
Yeah.
we got, even though
It
we didn't
wasn't
understand
overcrowded.
we got a lot out of that. That was special.
A small, kind of intimate
Yeah.
kind of mass, so it was very, very, very cool.
Yeah. I think we were hoping for the same thing in Santiago because everybody said how, I think our assumptions were bigger than what we were expecting, and so when we got to Santiago, we went to Mass, and they were supposed to be swinging the incense, and they didn't do that, and it was crowded. Of course,
it was a
we
lot of
still
people.
didn't
Yeah.
understand what was going on. We didn't get the meaning from that one. I think the smaller services like that were just so much better for us.
Right.
And I know a lot of people just love the Santiago one, and the church itself, the cathedral, is beautiful. But
Amazing. There were just so many pilgrims that it was kind of hard to enjoy, I guess.
Yeah.
When we got to the end, but I'm glad we had the other more intimate
yeah,
experience. I think that was nice. Yeah. So overall, I mean, that's our Camino.
well, we met a lot of interesting, great people from all over the world,
Yeah.
and that is probably the most amazing part. Is everybody comes together. So I'll try and see if we can't put the Pilgrim's Prayer in somewhere, in case y'all didn't get a chance to read that. I did post it. But to me, that kind of says what the whole meaning of the pilgrimage is. And I wish that they had put that in every single cathedral, because I'm not sure how often it's around. It was in Osebrio at the top of this mountain. And they're tiny little chapel, and it's a beautiful prayer. And it just talks about God and what you should do for others. And I just anybody doing the Camino in any way, I hope gets something out of it like that. So that's kind of my takeaway from the whole Camino. I'm so glad and blessed that we were able to do it, even though it was challenging. It was an amazing experience,
Yeah.
and I'm happy that we got to do it together.
Yep,
So
I agree.
yeah.
Okay.
But that's it. So hopefully, if y'all have questions or have any more ideas on things, otherwise we're still in Portugal, and we'll do an update on that probably in a week.
Yeah.
So
So you tired of saying it?
no, cheers.
Buen Camino.